it's Nikki here. I'm here today to do my spoiler-ish movie review for the 5th Harry Potter movie, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. If you were all tuned into my channel, you will have seen the spoiler and spoiler-free book reviews that went up. I can include a link below for those. And I'll just kind of jump right into it here. As I mentioned, this movie is based on the 5th Harry Potter book by the same name. I think they did a pretty decent job translating the movie from the book. However, this book is one of my favorites, and to me, the movie had very large shoes to fill because of that. And I'll move forward into my likes and dislikes right away here. My first like is Kreacher. Although he's not as involved in the movie as he was in the book, I really appreciated the way they kept his creepy, rude demeanor and just like it kept the distaste from Sirius, as well as Kreacher's like undying love for the Black family line. I think they did a pretty good job with the screen time they gave him. My second like is the absolutely phenomenal casting for Dolores Umbridge. The actress they picked just did an amazing job. Like, she had the down pat. She had the ability to still look evil and cold while maintaining that like very superficial, froofy, awful pink look. And just, they couldn't have picked a better person to play this character, and she just blew my mind with how well she represented Dolores Umbridge. My third like is the educational decrees in the movie. They did do them differently from the book. However, I actually think it was to the movie's benefit to do them this way because it highlighted the absurdity of the educational decrees themselves and like what the High Inquisitor was doing. And the way they posted them in the main hall as opposed to the common rooms, you got a lot more of a school-wide response. You got to see not just Gryffindor, but how everybody was reacting to these educational decrees, and it just gave it a really good kind of like truncated but still in-depth version of what it was like going to school under Dolores Umbridge as the High Inquisitor, and it just compacted it really well. And that's all I have for likes. I'll move to my dislikes now. My first dislike is how they rescued Harry at the beginning. Just the way they did it was a little off. Like, they didn't have Lupin there, who they understandably had in the book because it's somebody that Harry trusts. In the movie, it's like, other than Moody, it's not really anybody that he knows or trusts. It's just a bunch of new people. It didn't really go over like Tonks's role in helping him pack, and the way they did the broomsticks and the flight to Grimmauld Place, the Black House, it wasn't great. And the fact that they just excluded the secret keeping, well, not excluded, they changed the secret keeping to be superficial, and that really irritated me because in the third book and movie, the secret keeping spells are explained. And so it would be easy to just be like, you are now a secret keeper for this. You can only reveal this house to other people who you trust, blah, blah, blah. We're entrusting you with a very big thing. And it would have been easy enough for them to keep that, and it was just, I didn't care for the opening scenes where they were bringing Harry back to the wizarding world. My second dislike is that they ignored the prefect status of Hermione and Ron. I don't think it was necessarily important to the plot. It was a big deal for character development because this is the first time in the series where Ron is kind of balancing the scales with Harry. It's just because that was so specific to the development of their friendship, I really was sad to see that it wasn't included, because all it had to be was put in here, put in a couple times where Hermione's already like being Hermione, and that's all you really needed. And because like later in the book that role becomes a little more important, but whatever. And then my final negative is the disservice the movie did to Fred and George's exit. In the book, it was just like this big scale, multi-day plan of attack. And it highlighted their intelligence. In the movie, it highlighted their humor, which isn't bad in and of itself because it was also funny in the book. But the fact that in the book, they talk about how all of the professors are surprised at how good the Weasley twins are at this, that it was just like such a bare acknowledgement of their skills and talents that I was really upset that that wasn't acknowledged the same way in the movie, because it was such a big point of development for those two. If you saw my top 5 Harry Potter character video, you know I got a soft spot for Fred and George Weasley. So I am definitely sad that they did not get the treatment they deserved with their exit. And with that, I'll move into the characters real quick here. I don't have a lot to say. It's the same as every movie review for Harry Potter. They have amazing casting. They did a brilliant job. The actors are terrific. They embody what I think the characters are. If nothing else, they embody the personality of the character. And I already talked about the actress who does Dolores Umbridge. She did amazing. It was just a brilliant job. I loved it. That's really all I have to say. Like, the characters, they all kept their same arcs. Like with the DA, you still got a little bit of focus on Luna, Ginny, and Neville. All the while, even if it wasn't the same kind of focus you got in the book, they still got their development. And they still were the Silver Trio that went to the Ministry of Magic at the end. And I will jump into my wrap-up now. As normal, I'm going to do a book-to-movie adaptation as well as a movie score. And I'll just jump right in. And overall, this was a pretty good movie in both categories. For my book-to-movie adaptation, I'm giving this a 4 out of 5 stars. While it's not perfect, they did do a really good job, and the things they changed actually translated really well to the silver screen. They minimized a lot of the filler that, while in the book it was really entertaining, wouldn't have translated well over to the silver screen, as well as I mentioned, just with like the educational degrees, they did a really good job of compacting everything, but still presenting the correct information to you in the correct order. And on top of this, they were able to maintain the pacing that the book has. It's good, it's quick, it doesn't drag, but it's not rushed either. And honestly, the only big change in terms of plot was the ministry scene, and it still ended with the same resolution. There were just a few minor things that were different, not even enough to be on my dislikes list, but just enough that it was worth mentioning that it had changed, and not necessarily for the good, but also not necessarily for the bad. And that's really all I have to say about it in terms of a book-to-movie adaptation. It did a really good job, and they did their best to do justice for one of my favorite books in the series. And then I'll talk about it just unto a movie unto itself. It is actually a 4 out of 5 here too for me, because, well, you still have to watch the previous movie to understand what's going on in this one. It's not the end of the world. While you still have to watch the previous movie to understand what's going on in this one, they do a really good job of kind of keeping you up to date. They do kind of go over a little bit of what happened in the previous movie as they did with the same in the book. And the big thing for me here, if you didn't know this was a book series, this movie still stands up as a good movie. You're not lost. You're not missing information that's going to drastically impact the plotline. The pacing as a movie unto itself is really good. There's no dragging. It's pretty quick all the way through. The places it slows down, it's all kind of like, it's a bit more intellectual. It's a lot of thinking through and planning for the big action scenes. And the action wasn't used to change the focus from what was actually going on to the action scenes. It was used kind of as an emphasis, as a crescendo to each reel, basically. They kept the reasonable amount of humor with the Weasley twins, even if they didn't get as much screen time as they got in the book. But overall, it was just a really good movie. Like, good action, good pacing, good humor, good political machinations, good planning. It just did a good job. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!